Is a fall garden even worth it? Or is it just a waste of time? Today, me and Tuck will share with you why some people say that you should never plant a fall garden and let you know if we think they're right or wrong. I remember when I first grew a fall garden, it did so poorly, it was demoralizing. The techniques and the lessons from a spring and summer garden don't always translate to a fall garden. If right now it's too late for you to start a fall or even a winter garden, it's not too late to invest in next year's fall garden. Right now you could be tracking this year, the frosts, the weather, how low the sun is, and you could observe the ideal locations or even the best timing for a future fall garden. A sign of a good gardener is someone who doesn't just focus on the now. They take the lessons, the experience, and the information from the past and not only use it in the now, but they also invest that in their future. During summer, they don't just think summer, they think fall, they think winter, and the most successful gardeners think years down the road. Let's get into some hands-on ways to make your future or current fall garden all that you hope it could be. When you really should be getting your fall garden going, it's still nice out and you probably still have warm season veggies that you want to leave in the ground. This way you could have them grow as long as possible. To make sure you capture the most of the season, I suggest you start your fall veggies under a cover like this and in seed cells. I like using these Vega ones. I start my fall seeds inside, and once I see them starting to pop out of the ground, I bring them outside and place them under this cover. This is super valuable because what it allows me to do is to take an insect netting, just like this, and cover up my young seedlings. This way, no bugs can get to my young seedlings, and they do really well, especially when it's still warm out and a lot of those bugs are still just out, attacking everything. This also allows me to take a 40% shade cloth, like you see right here, and cover up my young seedlings on really hot days. This way they can grow really well, they don't get cooked by the sun, and they can just be perfect when they're ready to be transplanted into the garden. If you start some plants too early or you start too many, you could always grow them in containers. That's what I like to do. You'll notice all these beautiful plants I have in containers here. I really love these plants growing in containers because it allows me to get some extra harvest from them, especially on ones like these, cut and come again greens. You'll notice I already harvested some down there. Then I could just come out and grab some more whenever I want them. This allows me to get a bigger harvest overall, and it allows me to get a bigger harvest over a longer period of time and kind of extend the life of this plant. Another thing you'll notice is in the fall and winter, I plant in containers. I like to plant to these black containers. That's because it's cooler in the fall, so these containers heat up and help keep the soil a little warmer. Compared to in the spring and summer, I like growing in these white 5-gallon buckets, the food safe ones, because these are white. This makes it so they don't get so hot and cook in the sun. This little guy is out here looking for a snack. He loves his carrots and his root crops, but he also loves some of his greens. This one right here, the Maruba Santoh, he really likes it because it's got these thick stems on them. He likes snacking on them because they're full of water. So we'll take one of these. I'll peel these leaves off here. And he loves snacking on these stems like this. Stay tuned. Later in this video, me and Tuck are going to be announcing the winner of this 17-inch jumbo raised bed. When the weather starts to cool off and the warm season crops are slowing down, you will have established cool season crops ready to be transplanted into the garden that can get right into production. By starting your cool season crops while the warm weather ones are still growing in the garden, that will allow you to get the most out of the space and time in your garden. Another thing you should do is always start a second or potentially even third round of cool season crops after you start the first one. You'll notice right here, these are all my cool season crops. A lot of them are doing well, but this lettuce is ready to be harvested. So today I can take this lettuce, harvest it, and then I already have another round of lettuce on deck ready to go into the spot. This way we can get multiple harvests in one small area in the fall and heading into winter and get the most out of our space. Succession planting leads to successful gardens. In fall, the temperatures get cooler, the sun drops lower, and the days get shorter, which means our plants will grow slower. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we create the ideal growing conditions for them. The last thing we need is pests coming after our plants and slowing them down. That's why an insect netting is a game changer. If you don't want to use sprays in your garden, you don't have to. If you start your seedlings under an insect netting like I showed you, and then transplant them into a bed with an insect netting over top, almost no pests can actually even get to your plants. So as I pull this back, you'll see how beautiful things like growing underneath an insect netting. Check this out. For my big beds, I use this Vego cover here and then throw an insect netting over top. Look at the health of a lot of these plants. Look at the size and the beauty of these leaves when we don't have insects and pests that are slowing down their growth. Look at this kale here. And when it comes to some of my smaller beds, if you don't want to say buy a covering, you can make a covering. That's what I did for my small bed. I just built my own covering and then used an insect netting over top of that. If you can't cover your beds, or if you see some pests on your plants like cabbage worms or cabbage caterpillars, that's okay. There are some organic sprays that work really well that you can use. My favorite one for brassicas is the BT. This thing works great. And you could also use some spinosad. This is a good one also, both organic, and the BT happens to be my favorite, especially for the cabbages and all the brassicas. If soft-bodied insects are your problems, like white flies or even aphids, then I like using the Safer soap. It's a great option. You could also use neem oil, both good choices when it comes to soft-bodied insects. These are ones I always use in my garden. People often ask me, how are your plants so bug-free? It's like they have like no bites on them. Well, with the combination of an insect netting and then if anything gets in, using some of these organic sprays, this is what allows me to grow bug-free plants. I have been suggesting for years for people to use the BT when it comes to their brassicas. Let me know down low if you have taken this advice in the past and how well the BT works for you in your garden. As you move up here, a lot of the plants are bug-free, but there are some spots where some bugs came in, like some caterpillars had come in here the other day, cabbage ones, but you can just go by and hit the plants with some BT. And when your plants don't have to deal with pest issues, they can spend all their time, energy on growing food for you, instead of using so much of that energy on like warding off pests and just trying to deal with the stress that pests bring to the plants. For your first round of fall plantings, it will still be relatively warm out, so your plants will grow relatively quick if you protect them. That's why I want to give them a good amount of space. But later in the season, when we replace this, we can actually plant stuff a lot denser together because the plants are going to grow much slower. So we can plant a higher number of plants in a smaller amount of space as it gets cooler. If you live in an area like me, then you know a frost is coming. It's just a matter of time. So you really want to make sure you're being proactive and that you're thinking of ahead when it comes to a frost. So first off, the first thing we want to do is use a few techniques to kind of make sure that we prepare for these frosts coming and for the cold weather. One thing that you want to do is to make sure you plant in a bit of a higher elevation than some other areas to avoid frost pockets. A frost pocket is essentially an area where it's like lower elevation than the rest of your garden or your property. And because cold air is heavier than warm air, that cold air kind of moves all down to the lowest spot of your garden. These lower spots have a higher chance of getting frost on them, and it's not where you want to plant your garden. That's why it's good to plant in something like raised beds, because they're elevated off the ground and that cold air won't just all congregate in that spot and you won't get a bunch of frosts. Another thing we want to do is to make sure we're protecting and insulating our plants with some mulch. So I like using a diced leaf mulch at this time of year because it's so readily accessible. I just get some leaves and cut them up in a lawnmower. Then I could just protect my plants and the soil around them by applying some mulch around the base of them. This will really help extend your season. Another thing we want to make sure we're doing is using season extension methods. Something like a row cover is simple, but it makes a massive difference, especially when it comes to frost. Or you could use like a hinge hoop house with a plastic cover, which is what I like to do in the deep winter. But these make big differences. Not only will they allow you to grow some of your warmer season veggies later in the season, but it's Even important for some of your cold weather crops, because if we can keep the frost off of them, that will reduce the stress and allow them to grow better, grow healthier, and overall it's just a good idea to have these kinds of covers on all of your beds when you're growing late into the season. Probably the most important and the best way to extend your season is to grow some cold hardy veggies, some super cold hardy ones that will grow like in fall, in the winter, and some of them will even be growing into next spring. Something like a tatsoi is a great choice, like you see here. Also, you should definitely try to get in some sorrel. This is probably the most cold hardy one. It's a perennial. This thing grows down to like -20 degrees or even further than that. And you want to make sure you're getting some Russian varieties of kale in the ground. These ones are incredibly cold hardy. So you want to make sure you're doing these all different techniques to extend your season. That will allow you to get the most out of your fall garden. That will almost guarantee success when it comes to a fall garden, and it'll allow you to be eating food deep into the winter and maybe even into next spring. I would say without a doubt, it is worth planting a fall garden. Just check out how much food is in here. These super healthy greens that are packed with nutrition. When we really need them in the fall and winter, we're going to be able to come out here and eat them. I think probably the hardest thing about growing a fall garden has to do with timing. And if you get the timing wrong, it can be a little bit discouraging. But if you follow what I share with you today, it's okay if your timing isn't perfect, because you'll always have extra plants on deck ready to be put into the garden. In my opinion, when it comes to the fall garden, it's always better to be a bit early rather than too late, especially when you have extra plants. I would also suggest when planting a fall garden or even thinking about it, try to be optimistic about those frosts. For instance, my first expected frost date was October 15th. It's, I forget exactly what day in October it is today, maybe like the 23rd or something, but a frost still hasn't come. And I was pretty sure that wasn't going to happen, that a frost was going to come that early, because I have been tracking and journaling my frosts over the years for my specific location right here. So I had a good idea that we were going to be able to grow much later in the season than that first expected frost date that was suggested online of like October 15th. So try to be optimistic, but also that's why it's so important right now, even if you don't have time to plant a fall garden, to journal and to track everything that's happening in your specific location. Also track when you planted out your fall garden if you are growing one. This way next year you can reference that and either maybe move things up a week or move your plantings back a week to make sure you get the most out of the season. And you could always be investing in next year, even if it feels like this year things didn't go that well. Again, successful gardeners, they think years down the road. They don't think now, they don't think next season. They think those things, but they don't get kind of caught up in those things. So again, make sure you're always planning, and if you do a lot of things that I shared with you today, then I know that you'll greatly increase your chances of your future fall gardens being like massive successes. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got something out of it. Me and Tuck wanted to send a thank you to one of our new channel members, Nicole Habishaw. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. The time has come to announce the winner of the raised bed giveaway. A lot of you entered and we appreciate that. So we're going to be doing more giveaways in the future. Let us know down in the comments something that you think we should give away, and then we'll just give one away in the next video. We'll do another giveaway. So me and Tuck went onto Google. We typed in random number generator, set it between 1 and 500, then hit generate, and it kicked us out the number 487. There were 3 people who entered who guessed the number 487, but the one who guessed it first was Retired Nama. I'll put your name right here. Congratulations on winning the raised bed. Everyone sent some hearts down low for Retired Nama for winning the raised bed. And me and Tuck just like appreciate all the entries. And for the other 2 people who didn't win the raised bed but guessed the right number, we're going to be emailing you and sending you a free shirt. So check your emails, and Retired Nama, make sure you check your email. And everyone else, stay tuned for more giveaways in the future. We love giving things to the community to give back for all the love and everything that you do for us. And we want you guys to be able to be growing some of your own food in raised beds because it's such a fun way to do it. We had a blast. We hope you guys got a tremendous amount of value from this video, and we hope we encourage you to grow a fall garden, and we kind of equipped you with some skills to make sure that you get a good fall garden and you can be growing food late into the winter. Look how much food we can grow in this little raised bed here. There's so much food, and there's so many carrots and stuff ready. Look at this. We can just come in here, grab a carrot, still a little bit small, but they're going to get much bigger, and these things will be growing deep into the winter. It's truly a gift to have this food in your own backyard. That's why being a part of Team Grow is so important for us, that you guys are a part of it, that everyone's growing some of their own food at home, and then you share that you're growing with someone, then they grow their own food, and in the future the whole country or in the whole world is just filled with backyard gardens and everyone's growing their own food. That's the dream, that's the goal, and that's why me and Tuck are so thankful that you guys are a part of this. That's why it also means a lot if you guys if you subscribe, and it's really important that you share these videos with your friends. This way we can get this message out of growing your own food, doing it organically, and making it something that everyone feels like they can do in their own backyard, because it's possible. If we all just come together, we can create a better future. We can grow a better future together. Tuck and James will be back again real soon. We out.